Hello everybody, today we are going to learn how to draw some shapes using the vertex function in processing. We will explore how to draw some shapes like rectangles, diamonds, layered shapes, and even a heart shape. So let's see what we can do with the vertex function in processing. Let's start with the basic one. The size function creates a canvas that's 800 pixels wide and 800 pixels tall. This is our drawing area where we will create our shapes. Here we are loading an image called grid.png and displaying it as the background of our canvas. So let's call the load image function to load an image and make sure the grid.png file is in the data folder of your sketch directory. Otherwise, this won't work. And then use the image function to display the image at the top left corner of the canvas. The reason we are providing 0 and 0 as the x and y coordinate is to ensure the image is displayed from the top left corner of the canvas. Next, we set the styles for our shapes. We use the no fill function to remove the fill color from the shapes, unless we explicitly add it later on using the fill function. But for now, let's keep it simple and use no fill. Next up, we set the stroke color to this or any color of your choice and the stroke weight to 3 pixels. This will be the outline color and the thickness of our shapes. Now let's start drawing some shapes. Let's begin with a rectangle. We use the begin shape function to start recording the vertices for the shape. We then use the vertex function to define the corners of our shape. We specify the x and y coordinates for each vertex. So let's start with the first vertex at 100 and 100. This means 100 pixels from the left edge and 100 pixels from the top edge. Now this is the top left corner of the rectangle. Next vertex is at 200 and 100, which is 200 pixels from the left edge and 100 pixels from the top edge. This is going to be the top right corner of the rectangle. Now we have 2 points on the top side of the rectangle. All we need to do is to add the bottom 2 points. So the next vertex is at 200 and 200, which is 200 pixels from the left edge and 200 pixels from the top edge. And this is the bottom right corner of the rectangle. Finally, we add the last vertex at 100 and 200, which is 100 pixels again from the left edge and 200 pixels from the top edge. This is going to be our bottom left corner of the rectangle. Now that we have all these vertices, we use the end shape function to close the shape. End shape is used to stop recording vertices for the shape. The close parameter ensures that the shape is closed properly. If you do not use close, the shape will still remain open. So you can try removing close and see how the shape changes. Let's use fill to add some color to the rectangle. Go to the color selector and choose a color of your choice. Now let's run the sketch and see how the rectangle looks. Again, you can experiment with different colors and shapes to create your own unique designs. Now that we have drawn a rectangle, let's try drawing a diamond shape. We will start with the begin shape function and use the vertex function to define the points of the diamond. So let's call begin shape to start recording the vertices for the diamond. The first vertex is at 500 and 150, which is 500 pixels from the left edge and 150 pixels from the top edge. This is the top point of the diamond. Next vertex is at 600 and 300. 600 pixels from the left edge and 300 pixels from the top edge. Now this point is further to the right. 600 on the x-axis and lower 300 on the y-axis. The third point is at 500 and 450. Again 500 pixels from the left edge and 450 pixels from the top edge. Now this is the bottom point of the diamond directly below the top point. And finally, we add the last vertex at 400 and 300, which is further to the left at 400 and at the same height as the right point at 300. Now this is the left point of the diamond. Let's use the end shape function to close the diamond shape, and this will connect the last point to the first point and complete the diamond shape. Let's hit the run button and see how the diamond looks on the canvas. And there we have it, a diamond shape drawn using the vertex function. Next, let's draw some layered shapes. We'll draw an outer square and an inner square inside it. So if you remember the rectangle we drew earlier, this is similar but with two squares. So pause the video here and give it a go on your own before continuing. Okay, we will use begin shape function. Next, we will call the vertex function to define all the corners of the outer square. Bottom left corner is at 200 and 600. Bottom right corner is at 400 and 600. Top right corner is at 400 and 400. And top left corner is going to be at 200 and 400. Now let's close the outer square using the end shape function. Now that we have the outer square ready, let's draw the inner square. And again, let's start with the begin shape function. Define the first vertex at 250 and 550. Second vertex is going to be at 350 and 550. The third one is going to be at 350 and 450. And the last one is going to be at 250 and 450. Now close the inner square using the end shape function. Now hit the run button and see how the layered squares looks on the canvas. And there we have it, two squares layered on top of each other. Let's now see how to draw the curved shapes. To draw any curved shape, we use the bezierVertex function along with the vertex function. This allows us to create a smooth curves between the points. So let's draw a heart shape using the bezierVertex function. We will start with the begin shape function. Define the first vertex as 600 and 500, which is the top point of the heart. Now just with this point, we cannot draw a heart shape. We need to add some curves to the shape. And that's where bezierVertex comes in. The bezierVertex function takes 4 parameters. The first 2 parameters are the x and y coordinates of the control point for the curve. And the last 2 parameters are the x and y coordinates of the end point of the curve. If you are not sure how control point works, I suggest you to watch the video on Bezier curves on this channel before continuing. So let's call bezierVertex function. The first 2 parameters are 700 and 450, which is the control point for the curve. Now this pulls the curve outward to the right and slightly up, shaping the upper right part of the heart. The last 2 parameters are 700 and 650, which is the end point of the curve. This pulls the curve outward to the right and downward. This will shape the lower right part of the heart. The last 2 parameters are 600 and 700, which is the end point of the curve. Similarly, we add another bezierVertex function. This curve draws the left half of the heart. So let's break down what each part of this function does. Starting point is going to be at 600 and 700. The control points are going to be at 500 and 650. This pulls the curve inward and downward, shaping the lower part of the left lobe of the heart. The second pair of control points, 500 and 450, this pulls the curve inward and upward, shaping the upper part of the left lobe. And similarly, the end points, 600 and 500, is going to be the top point of the heart, where the curve connects back to the starting point of the first Bezier curve. And finally, we close the shape using the end shape function. This will connect the last point to the first point and complete the heart shape. So let's run the sketch and see how the heart shape looks on the canvas. And there we go. We have a heart shape drawn using the bezierVertex function. So I hope you learned something new today about how to draw shapes using the vertex function in processing. You can always experiment with different shapes, colors, and styles to create your own unique designs. And that wraps it up for today. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, keep learning and take care.